So I grew up in Los Angeles, and I grew up at a time where there were not very many Muslims, and I was the only one around. I was the only Muslim that my teachers knew, that my friends knew, and so I was the one who got asked a lot of questions. And usually this didn't come up in school. You don't talk about religion on the playground. But sometimes, I would go to a birthday party and someone would have pepperoni pizza, and then I would have to tell them I didn't eat pepperoni, and why? Because I didn't eat pork, and why? Because I was Muslim, and that's how it all started. So it wasn't until I went to college, really, that I started being asked questions about Islam and my religion, and everyone in the dorm lives very close to each other, so we all knew what we were all doing, and so I felt like it was an interfaith 101 experience. And this continued. I went to law school, I started practicing law as a corporate lawyer, and I got asked a lot of questions about Islam. And then increasingly I began to be asked for book recommendations. And there was nothing. There was Sufi poetry or there were textbooks. There was nothing that would explain Islam and Muslims the way that these friends of mine wanted explanations of. So anyway, so I decided I would write a book. So when my husband's job took us to London, I got a degree in Islamic law, and I wrote my first book called The Muslim Next Door. And then after I went on tour for that book, a lot of middle school teachers asked me to write one for middle school. So my second book is a preteen and teen book on Islam and Muslims as well. So that's what I do. So in talking to a lot of audiences about being Muslim and about Islam, one thing that's always struck me is that people are very quick to see differences in other people. And I think human beings generally tend to see more differences in people than similarities. So I think one of the things that we need to do as Americans and as world citizens is to focus on similarities rather than differences in other people, and to look beneath the superficialities of culture and language, and to see that we're all really very, very similar underneath. Mark Twain said that travel erases bigotry. So travel is definitely one way to make connections with people, but I think more than that, we need to travel and also see that we are really all the same underneath. So if there's one thing that I really wish that people understood about Islam, is how pluralistic it is. In many verses, the Qur'an has respect for people with other viewpoints. One example is God in the Qur'an says, God made you into different nations and tribes so that you could learn from one another. This is an amazing verse because it doesn't say God made you into different nations and tribes so you could go convert other people. It says so you could learn from one another. It's reciprocal, which was a remarkable statement for the 7th century, for a 7th century religious text, which was promoting its own message to still accept other messages. In addition, the Qur'an has great respect for Jews and Christians and other people who have had an earlier revelation. So this is something that's not very well known about Islam, but it's one of the things that's most beautiful to me about it, how pluralistic and accepting of diversity it is.